Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so let's talk about what's going on with me horologically these days. Well, for the past week, I've worn this. From the day I stayed in that capsule hotel, I've been wearing the same watch. And why? Part of the reason is I just haven't really felt the need to get another watch out. This has been fine. I had to reset it once. It started getting a little fast, but it was really just convenience. It was a mechanical watch going right there, and so often I would grab it and put it on. Now, that's not the only reason. I've realized that, and this is really no surprise, I just love the simplicity of this watch. I love the humbleness of this watch. It's small, unobtrusive. I mean, it's not a fancy watch, and that's actually kind of nice sometimes. You know, when you wear Rolexes and nice watches, I don't know if people notice. Some people notice, I'm sure some people don't notice, but it's kind of nice to fly under the radar, and that is what this watch does. Now, let's talk about the Cyclops, because the Cyclops of a Rolex is, well, it's very characteristic of a Rolex. And I've vacillated on whether I like the Cyclops or not. Now, let me just kind of go through my evolution. Now, you know that I started out with a no-date sub, and one of the reasons was I wasn't keen on the Cyclops. And then I moved on to an Explorer 2 and a GMT. And I just kind of had to get accustomed to the Cyclops. Otherwise, I wasn't going to have a watch with a date, a Rolex with a date. Yeah, I could have gone Sea Dweller, but with a no-date sub, that would have been kind of silly. So, I wasn't at first into the Rolex. I thought it was obtrusive. I thought it was sort of garish and obvious, and I just wasn't into it. So that was sort of the first iteration of my feeling. Now, I started to get used to it when I got the Explorer 2. And it's kind of neat to look through a Cyclops. It's not so one-dimensional as just like a date. And it's a very personal experience because you have to be looking at it just right to get that magnification. And it's neat, that sort of low-tech technology, that low-tech solution. And it is very characteristic of a Rolex. And so if you are sort of in the mood to be sort of proud, and I don't want to say like show offy with your watch, but if you are more than happy to sport a Rolex and let everybody see it, well, you can't go wrong with a watch with the Cyclops. Now, the Cyclops has an interesting history, so let's just talk about that for a second. Hans Wilsdorf's wife complained about the smallness of the date on her Ladies Datejust. I think that was the model. And so, because of that, the Cyclops was born, and since then it's just become really an iconic characteristic of Rolexes. Datejusts, definitely, but you know, GMTs, Explorer 2s, and pretty much any watch with a date function aside from the pre-ceramic Sea Dwellers. The ceramic Sea Dweller does have the Cyclops. So, Hans Wilsdorf's wife, she's to thank for the Cyclops. Now, so I went through this phase of I kind of liked the Cyclops. I liked it. I thought it was nice. And I'm sort of coming off of it, and I'm not so keen on it anymore. And one of the reasons is it is so characteristic of Rolexes that it really screams Rolex. And sometimes you just want to just be a normal person, not some dude with a Rolex, not a dude with a multi-$1,000 watch. And so that's where this watch comes in. It is small, unobtrusive, and there's no Cyclops on it, and it's simple, high information with the day and the date. But that's a separate point. What I like about it is it's just so humble. It's just so everyday average. I like it, and it serves my purposes. It's not as accurate as I would like it to be, but it works. And that's pretty much why I don't like so much the Cyclops these days, because it just screams Rolex. And on a 40mm sports watch, the GMT Explorer 2 Sea Dweller, definitely a deep sea Datejust, Datejust with Jubilee bracelet, the fluted bezel. It's so easy to spot. And for some reason this past week, I just haven't really felt like being that guy, being that Rolex wanker. Now, about 5 years ago, I was eating lunch in a restaurant, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me. We were sitting at like a counter. It's as they call it in Japan, a teishoku yasan, where it's like you get a set meal on a tray, and this guy must have been probably 50, 55, 60. And I looked at his wrist, and he had on an Oyster Perpetual. Must have been 34 millimeters, possibly 36, probably 34. It looked so tasteful, so cool. It was beautiful. It was new. You could tell it was new. It was just really, really nice. I would be shocked if it was a used watch, but it just was so practical, and it brought him up because it was tasteful, and it wasn't a bit over the top, which a GMT Master 2 Pepsi really can be, or Coke, or these Cyclops 40mm professional models. And I've remembered seeing that, and I've thought it was just so simple and tasteful, and I love that. I don't know if I could do it, but I wanted to think maybe I could do that. And I've been thinking about it, and I've imagined if this was a Rolex and how I would feel. Is it the fact that this is not a Rolex that sort of makes me feel comfortable with it? That's not really it. It's the style. It's the humbleness of this, and that humbleness is present in a 34mm Oyster Perpetual, and I think you can get them 36mm, and that's probably how I would go. And they're really, really moderately priced considering what Rolexes run. I think that could be a fantastic watch that I could wear for a long time. I'm always looking for the one watch grail, and I've often been focused on functions. And the GMT Master 2, you got the second time zone and the date, and you can use the bezel like the sub, and that's why it should be your one watch if you're going to go one watch. I've kind of rethought it these days, and there's a classiness and a humbleness to 34, 36mm Oyster Perpetual that I absolutely love. And I would be thrilled if this was one of those watches. Obviously, I wouldn't have the day and the date, but I think I could be very, very happy with that. And I think I could wear it for the long run. I talk about these kind of a wave pattern of getting into Rolex and out of Rolex, and into Seiko and out of Seiko, and oftentimes it has to do with how ideable these Rolexes are. And after 2 weeks of wearing it, it's just like you just want something just normal. And I feel that a lot with the no date sub. but I would feel it even more with just a 34 millimeter humble. Have I said that word enough? Humble. Oyster Perpetual. So at the moment, how do I feel? Do I feel like strapping on the GMT Master 2? I don't at all. I feel just like being a normal guy under the radar with a mechanical watch. And it would be nice if it was Rolex. It happens to be a Seiko, and that's all right. But if I could have that simplicity and that Rolex quality, which when it comes to the Oyster Perpetual, it's not going to scream Rolex at all. And it's almost like, and the people that do check it out, well, if they're like me, they're going to think that's really classy. That's low key. None of this desk diving, sub wearing, GMT, professional model. I hate to say poser, but people who have really more watch than they really need. And I guess I could categorize myself in that way. And I do live in a foreign country, so I feel like I can justify the 24-hour hand a little bit, but I haven't missed it at all. Anyway, so let me know what you think. Do you guys, I guess I'm in this sort of low-key, under-the-radar phase at the moment, and I'm just really digging this simple watch. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.